Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Ohio.
The Indians make their only trip to fabled Fenway Park, home of the splendid Splinter and Triple Crown winner Carl Yastrzemski. It's their first look of the season at the Green Monster, which has seen its share of historic moments both for and against the Red Sox. It's also the former residence of tribe skipper Terry Francona, who helped break the curse of the Bambino. The Indians swept the Red Sox just last week, and they'll try to make it 4 straight over the defending world champs. Next on Sports Time Ohio. From historic Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, it's Cleveland Indians baseball. Tonight, the Tribe continues its 10-game road trip. They open up the first of 4 here at Fenway against the Red Sox. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. The last time the Indians saw Boston, the Red Sox rolled into Cleveland with a 7-game winning streak intact, and the Indians swept them right on out of town. They've sent Boston into a spiral. They've lost 7 of their last 10.
Well, and the Indians did it in fashion where they won a low-scoring game in that first one, a 3-2 ball game. They only hit 1 home run in the series, and I don't think it could have been any better. Their starting pitching was very good. That was the walk-off as for Asdrubal Cabrera, a 3-runner, and there it was for the Indians as they had the sweep. And they started to put it together back then. You can see they out-hit them. Their starter's ERA was very good for the Tribe, and you can see Boston struggle a little bit, and the Indians hit with runners in scoring position.
Even though the Indians have lost their last 2, they've still won 7 of their last 10, just 2.5 games out of first in the Central. Meanwhile, Boston finds themselves 9 back in the AL East. When we come back, we'll preview tonight's pitching matchup. It's Josh Tomlin against the lefty John Lester. That's coming up next. I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's. Get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. Back here at Fenway Park, where the Indians open up a 4-game series tonight against the Red Sox. Rick, sometimes opposing pitchers come into Fenway Park. Because of that big green monster over our shoulder there, it can maybe change the way they pitch, or it gets in their head. Josh Tomlin wouldn't appear to be the kind of guy that's going to let that happen.
I wouldn't think so. Josh Tomlin's a guy that throws a lot of strikes. His strikeout to walk ratio, he struck out 35 and walked just 5, so it's 7-1. He's coming off an 8-inning performance in his home state of Texas, getting the win. He's 1-1 in his career against the Red Sox, so I don't think it's going to change Josh Tomlin. He's going up against the Red Sox ace John Lester, who has not won more than 2 games all season long in a row. He's done that 3 times, but he's a guy that can dot the outside part of the plate with his fastball and his cutter. He runs the cutter into the right-handers, so he can be very good. He's 6-1 in his career against the Indians. He's 2-1 in this ballpark. So the Red Sox need a good start from him. The Indians need to score a few runs and give Tomlin a little comfort here.
Only 4 pitchers in Red Sox history have struck out more batters than John Lester, and oh, by the way, he's a free agent at season's end. The Indians and the Red Sox. It's round 2. The Tribe swept them in Cleveland. Boston looking for some payback. The Indians trying to get back on the winning track on this road trip. The play-by-play is coming up next. Brought to you by your Northeast Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. Welcome into Fenway Park here in Boston. Cloudy, cool, but dry. And that's the most important thing as the Indians and Red Sox get ready for this 4-game series here tonight. Boston comes in 29-36. 9 games out in the AL East. The Indians just 2.5 back of front-running Detroit in the AL Central. They're 33-33 on the year. The Indians going up against left-hander John Lester. He can be a very tough customer, and with more on that, let's go downstairs to Katie Witham.
Well, Matt, and the Indians have had their fair share of struggles this season against left-handed pitching. Hitting coach Ty Van Berkelio told me Lester's one of the toughest you can face. He's told his hitters be ready for the fastball early, then watch for him to work in those breaking balls later on. When you get 2 strikes on you, watch for that front door cutter. The key and the approach today, Matt, is to be disciplined on the inside corner and get him up and over the plate if they can.
All right, thanks a lot, Katie. Lester about to make his warm-up tosses, and while he takes care of that business, let's take care of our own. Terry Francona's starting lineup is brought to you by Progressive. Michael Bourne in the leadoff spot, followed by his Asdrubal Cabrera. Michael Brantley will bat third. Jason Kipnis will hit cleanup. He's had very good career success here at Fenway Park. Carlos Santana bats fifth, and Ryan Rayburn will start in right field tonight. He'll bat sixth. Nick Swisher activated from the disabled list. He'll bat seventh. To make room for Swisher today, the Indians put Jason Giambi on the DL with a knee problem. Then Yan Gomes will bat eighth, and Mike Aviles will hit ninth.
Take a look at our GMC starting pitcher. It'll be John Lester. John Lester making his 14th start. Believe it or not, he has 13 decisions in 13 starts. Never has, or he has not had a no decision on the year yet. He has a 2-4 record in 6 starts in this ballpark this year, but his ERA is only 3.05, so he has pitched well here. In his career, 6-1 against the Tribe, 2-1 in this ballpark. So he can be a tough customer. He's got a good fastball, the cutter, and a changeup that he can use away to the right-handed pitchers. And he is a power pitcher. He has 95 strikeouts on the year in 84 1/3 innings. Let's check the key of defense behind him tonight. It looks like this. Nava will be in left field. Bradley Jr. is in center. Sizemore over in right. It'll be Holt at third, Herrera at short, Pedroia at second. Napoli is at first with Ross doing the catching.
The umpires tonight, Eric Cooper calling the balls and strikes. Tom Hallion, the crew chief, is at first. Sean Barber at second. Chris Guccione down at third. And we're ready to go. John Lester winds and deals, and his first pitch to Michael Bourne is in there for a strike. Bourne a .284 hitter, couple of homers, 16 driven in on the year. He's doubled 6 times, he's tripled 5 times. And he strikes out, and Lester made quick work of him to start the game. Take a look at our Akron Children's Hospital keys to the game. The clutch hits, that's what the Indians didn't find yesterday in Kansas City. Cost them late especially. And for Josh Tomlin, keep the ball down. Now he's a fly ball pitcher, so
right.
And that's why I posed the question to you in the open. Pitching in this park can sometimes play with opposing pitchers' minds, and Josh Tomlin still has to be who he is.
Yeah, if he can get ahead in the count, he had a very good breaking ball, curveball in his last start, and that's what he could use tonight as well. Cabrera getting after that first fastball there.
Lester delivers, and Asdrubal Cabrera pops it sky high on the infield. First baseman Mike Napoli makes the grab. 2 down. So 2 quick outs for left-hander John Lester. You know, when you're the ace of the staff, whether you're the de facto ace or the true ace of a staff, and you're going through the kind of year that the Red Sox are going through, they expect to win every time he goes out there, and they expect him to pitch well enough so that they can win those games.
Well, you know, their pitching isn't as bad as you think. I mean, they're not winning, so what do they look at? They look at your pitching. They've been pitching well enough to win. Their offense has been poor. Their offense has to pick it up. Lester's never won more than 2 games in a row this year, but he's done it 3 times. He's lost 2, won 2, lost 2, won 2, and that's how his year has gone. Every game he has had a decision since towing the rubber, and you know he leads the league in losses with 7, but his ERA is 3.05. I mean, so you go figure. They got to get him some runs.
Brantley strikes out. Lester fans a pair here in the first. And the Indians go 1-2-3. The Red Sox are coming to bat. Brought to you by Toyota. Brock Holt will lead it off. Then it's Dustin Pedroia, followed by David Ortiz. Mike Napoli, who did not play against the Indians a week ago, is in the lineup batting cleanup, followed by Daniel Nava, who's had pretty good success in his career against the Tribe. Grady Sizemore, sixth, and David Ross, Jonathan Herrera, and Jackie Bradley Jr.
GMC starting pitcher Josh Tomlin, 4-2 on the year, making his seventh start. 3.12 ERA, 1-1 in his career against the Red Sox, a high ERA, but he has not pitched against them since 2011.
Fastball strike over the outside corner to Brock Holt. And Tomlin comes with an off-speed pitch, and that drops in. It's 0-2.
Well, you've got two pitchers that are just throwing strikes. Lester went out there threw 8 pitches, 8 strikes in the top half of the first and had 2 strikeouts. Out comes Tomlin. He's 2 for 2 in the strike zone.
Popped him straight up at the plate, and it's going to drift out toward the mound where Mike Aviles comes in to make the catch.
Check the Kia Indians defense behind Tomlin tonight. It looks like this. Brantley is in left field, Bourne in center. It'll be Rayburn in right. It'll be Aviles at third, Cabrera at short, Kipnis at second, Santana's at first with Gomes behind the plate. That's right, no Chisenhall in that lineup today. Maybe because the left-hander's pitching, but well, you're taking a hot bat out of the lineup.
Yeah, both David Murphy and Lonnie Chisenhall getting a night off with the left-handed starter on the hill for Boston. And you know, for David Murphy in particular, he's played every game since May, I believe it's May 19th. So he's gone almost a solid month playing every day.
Now, I could see Murphy maybe getting a day off. I don't know about Chisenhall. He's been too good.
Here is David Murphy, who began his career with these Boston Red Sox.
And I know exactly what Tito's thinking, too. If you're going to give a lefty a day off, do it against John Lester. I understand that.
He would know as well as anyone, right?
Yeah.
Dustin Pedroia looks at the ball outside. The Red Sox bats have been completely put on ice of late. They lost 7 out of 9 on that road trip, which started with a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Indians. Then they went into Detroit, didn't fare much better there, and got completely shut down by Baltimore. They scored 1 run in 27 innings against the Orioles. It was the first time they were held to 1 run or less in 3 straight games against the same team since 1981, when the Rangers shut them out 3 straight times in Texas.
Wow. But they got to win when they scored that run. That is the amazing thing in Baltimore. It was a 1-0 win for them in that game, but 1 run in the 3-game series. They are second to last in the league in runs scored. How about this? We looked at it. Tampa's last in the league in runs scored, Boston second, and the Yankees are third.
And we're talking, this is June 12th. Ground ball to second. It came up and bit Kipnis, but he stays right with it, throws him out. Yeah, on June 12th, if you'd have told me that the Yankees, the Red Sox, and, well, Tampa Bay I could understand, but that the Yankees and Red Sox would be of the bottom 3 lowest scoring teams in the league, I'd have had to say no way.
Well, but you're right. Just from just from history, this is always a team that scores runs, no doubt about it. They always play great at home. They're 15-17 in this ballpark, and they always dominate here, or they have.
Well, I just mentioned that they lost 7 out of 9 on that road trip. You pointed out they won a 1-0 game as Ortiz grounds out to Cabrera. Ortiz had a game-winning home run in the 9th inning in Detroit. Otherwise, they could have very easily been swept on that entire road trip. Park. Indians and the Red Sox, both teams going 1-2-3 in their respective bats.
You're on TV. There you go.
Jason Kipnis, Carlos Santana, Ryan Rayburn due up for the Tribe here in the second. Don Lester goes to work, and Kipnis is swinging a miss. This guy can pile up some strikeouts. He fanned a dozen against Tampa Bay back on June the 1st. 19th time in his career he struck out 10 or more. He passed Smokey Joe Wood, the third most double-digit strikeout games as a Boston Red Sox pitcher.
Now that's a baseball name, Smokey Joe Wood.
Yes, it would.
That's great.
Kipnis goes waving at it, and that's 3 strikeouts already for Lester.
Well, I'm going to tell you, as we see it right now, he has great stuff.
Tonight's game, we're participating once again in the Home Run Challenge, and every home run in tonight's game will raise $6,000 for prostate cancer research. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Up comes Carlos Santana. thought it was interesting just looking over the matchups in terms of what these Indians hitters have done against Lester in their careers. Santana sends one sky high on the left side of the infield. Holt straddling the line into foul ground, 2 away. Only one Indians hitter has hit a home run against John Lester. He's given up 1 home run to any of these Tribe hitters. And our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Most wins by a left-handed pitcher in Red Sox history. Lester's moved ahead of guys like Babe Ruth, Dutch Leonard, the spaceman Bill Lee, Lefty Grove, and now trails only Mel Parnell. And if the Red Sox somehow find a way to sign Lester to a long-term contract extension in the offseason, then one day he will be atop that list. Now, you can say that remains to be seen if they'll do that. You have to imagine that Boston will go out of their way to re-sign John Lester.
Well, who do you replace him with? I mean, here's a guy, he is the ace of this staff. And if you need 1 game pitched, you know he's going to be on the rubber to get it done. It would be tough to replace him. Now, I guarantee he's going to be looking for a boatload of money like the rest of the guys. When you see guys like Scherzer turning down $144 million, I don't think they've really made him that kind of offer or anything yet. But
popped him up on the infield. And again, the Indians go in a hurry. We'll go to the bottom of the second. No score in Boston. In Boston, looking across the Charles River. It was cloudy. It looked like it was going to rain all day today, but it never really did. A few sprinkles here and there.
Just an overcast day. And again, we mentioned this when we were in Kansas City, but this is like an October day here today. What was the temperature? About 65 at game time?
Not sure I heard it announced.
I thought it was about 65 as we started. .63 as we speak.
Okay, 63 degrees. There it is. Yeah. Wow. Mike Napoli was on the DL when the Indians and Red Sox met in Boston, or back in Cleveland. Obviously an important hitter because he's the quote-unquote protection for David Ortiz, who bats cleanup. What has John Farrell concerned and somewhat puzzled right now is that they're not hitting in the clutch. And in that series against the Orioles, in which they were pretty much shut down and out. They went 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position.
They have 2 extra base hits all series. I think 2 doubles.
Well, I mean, when you score 1 run in 3 games.
Right.
But he doesn't understand, why they're not hitting in the clutch. You've got veteran hitters like Ortiz, Napoli, Pedroia, guys who've driven in runs throughout their career. But he said I think he said going into last night, they had 8 hits on the entire road trip with a runner in scoring position.
And that was a long trip, starting in Cleveland, Detroit, and Baltimore. Well, it's just that, it's a bad time for them. We saw our offense go through it earlier in the year, where you couldn't get base hits, you couldn't hit with runners in scoring position, you couldn't get a 2-out base hit. And I'll tell you, it's no fun, and it looks terrible, and your team looks bad. But when you start rolling, you want to get out of here in 3 more days after tonight, and they can start hitting all they want. But not right now. Their offense or their outfield production this year has really been down. Any way you look at it.
Now 2-2. Slowly chopped to short. Cabrera goes to the backhand. Low throw. Santana can't dig it out.
Routine play again by Cabrera. It just doesn't make the throw. You have the slow guy running. It's just stand up and make a strong throw. And he short hopped Santana, and he couldn't pick it. 62nd error for the Tribe. You see, he just didn't put enough on it. Routine.
Can't argue that. But let me just ask you this. How many times do you see a first baseman save an infielder an error by being able to scoop?
Well, it helps all the time. But Santana's not a first baseman. I mean, he will get starts over there, but he's not a first baseman. A guy that can pick it, I guess the infielders have less pressure on him to make good throws, when you've got him out there. But Swisher's the normal first baseman. He's DHing him.
Just off the DL.
It was the shabby defense that got Kansas City rolling in a short 2-game series. You cannot give up extra outs. And this is leading off the second.
Daniel Nava takes a strike, and this is a ballpark in particular that you don't want to give up extra outs in.
Well, Tomlin knows. I mean, you said earlier that you don't want to go in here and pitch differently in this ballpark. Maybe you don't want to walk people to give them extra base runners, and you certainly don't want to give them extra outs.
Now the 1-1, and Nava singles into right field. Napoli going to go to third. Here's the throw, and not in time. That was a heck of a throw by Rayburn. But Napoli able to avoid the tag of Aviles to get in there safely.
Well, you figure you're going to try and run. You have Ryan Rayburn in right field. He did make a very good throw. It was a little left up third base, but Aviles comes out, and you can see him put the tag on. But Napoli got on the bag. If he would have kept the tag with him, he might have been out, because he did slide over the bag. Watch at the end. He's going to slide through the bag, and he was off right there until he reaches back. Here's a better look at it. All right, he's in there, and then he came back and dropped the arm down on it. So they go first to third now, so they're trying to make the error pay.
Good throw by Rayburn, though.
Yeah, it was. It was a good throw.
Grady Sizemore batting just .220. Tomlin tosses to first where Nava gets back safely. Lifted in the air, foul, and out of play. It's another nuance at Fenway Park. There's not a lot of foul territory.
Pretty much absolutely none once you get down into the left field line. Just about 30-40 feet past shortstop. Down the line.
Drills one to deep right field. It's over Rayburn's head. It'll one-hop its way into the Indians bullpen for a ground rule double. And the Red Sox take the lead 1-0. Sizemore's 10th double of the year, his 15th run batted in, and that's the 45th unearned run the Indians have allowed this year.
Now ball hit right on the nose from Grady. Looked like a little cutter or a breaking ball, gets over the head. Rayburn had a good beat on it. He just couldn't catch up to it. He's going to jump right at the end, gets over his glove, bounces into the bullpen. The Red Sox will take the lead, and they do it on an extra base hit.
That'll bring up David Ross. He's getting the start tonight behind the plate. And he's only hitting 176 so far this year. A couple of homers, 5 driven in. Swing and a miss. Count evens a 1-1. So right out of the gate, aided by the air, the Red Sox get their offense going here in the second inning. They get an extra base hit. They get a hit with a runner in scoring position. People always wonder, how do you fix it? How do you get a team snapped out of it? By doing just what they did. You've got to hit your way out of slumps.
Well, yes, you do. And they're back
magical
home,
words,
but they got a little help to get it started.
Indians have been far too generous in that regard this year. 3-1 to count on Ross. They walked him. This inning's not going well. Bases are loaded, nobody out, and Jonathan Herrera, the number 8 hitter, is coming up. Herrera's a switch hitter, batting .231. No homers, 7 driven in. He's at shortstop tonight. The Indians, when they saw Xander Bogaerts back in Cleveland, he was hitting everything in sights, but he went through a rough series against Baltimore, so he's getting the night off. Stephen Drew, who had just been signed by Boston and made his season debut for Boston against Cleveland, he's got an oblique problem already, so he's day to day. fact, when the Indians played Boston back in Cleveland, Brock Holt was at first base.
Yes, he was. For only the second game of his, and it was only the second time. Played first base the day before they came in.
Out goes Yan Gomes.
I don't know if he got crossed up here or not knowing what they're putting down, but you can see he did. That wasn't, he didn't go after that ball smoothly, and he's out there talking to Tomlin now, so they're getting set on the signs. And boy, they better get, because there's bases loaded and nobody out. They can't afford to make any more mistakes here. He needs an out, and out quickly.
He could use a comeback here.
1, 2, 3. That's what I was thinking.
Herrera taking. It's a strike, and now he's down on the count 1 and 2.
You want to talk about a low dart? There it is at the knees. Pretty good place to keep it.
Foul back.
He had a very good curveball in his last start, if you remember, in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting ahead of hitters. He got people to chase that ball in the dirt. And now he could, I think he went to go to that curveball, but he left that pitch up. You know, here's where you have to have the confidence. If you're going to throw it in the dirt and see if you can get a strikeout here. But you got to trust that Gomes is going to block it.
To first, Santana goes home. They get the out there. Return throw
Just
in
as
time.
good.
A double play. Nicely done by Carlos Santana and Yan Gomes as they save a run and get 2 outs in the process.
It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it, boy. You get a one hopper. It goes to Santana, to Gomes, back to Santana. So a 3-2-3 double play, and he was going to flip it to Tomlin. He wasn't even ready for it. Hold on, Carlos. Relax.
Hot potato. Let me get rid of this thing.
He had to get rid of it. I get it back. I got to get rid of it again. He went for 2 more outs. He was going to go after. That's all right. Just what Josh Tomlin needed right there with the double play. We were thinking 1-2-3. It went 3-2-3.
He decided to go backwards.
That's okay.
But they get the double play, and now Tomlin with a chance to get out of trouble if he can get Jackie Bradley Jr., who's batting .201 on the year.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This could be a really big turning point in this game, and you're facing a guy like Lester who looks like he's on the mark. If he can get out with just giving up the 1, that would be a terrific Houdini act.
Swung on and missed. 1-1 to count. Back out of play, and now Tomlin's 1 strike away from getting out of the jam. Now the 1-2. Did he go around? Yes, he did. Eric Cooper says you went too far, and the inning is over. Josh Tomlin gets himself out of a wicked jam, and only an unearned run comes home for Boston.
On your favorite mobile phone or tablet, you get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audios, and free MLB TV game of the day and more. Download on the App Store or visit Indians.com today.
Nick Swisher is going to lead off the third inning here for the Indians. Swisher just thrilled to be back with the club after spending time on the DL.
What a great job by Tomlin.
Boy, you're not kidding. Swisher takes, it's inside for ball one. That could have gotten out of hand in a hurry. And with Lester on the mound, you don't want to give them a big cushion early.
That was my thought right there. I mean, all right, they got the one and they earned it. They hit their way on, but he got a double play and then a punch out and kept it 1-0. That was a great job.
Fouled away. Swisher went 0 for 2 in his first rehab game and then had 3 hits last night. And he called up Terry Francona afterward and said, "I feel good. I'm ready to go." The Indians placed Jason Giambi on the 15-day disabled list with inflammation in his knee to make room for Swisher's return. He went around and the count is 2-2.
That's that cutter. That's the one that the righties have to lay off of, and he gets you in there to swing, and you can't hit it. But he can also throw that fastball away, arm side of the plate like that.
It's his 4th strikeout, 1 down here in the 3rd.
I mean, when you look at his location, watch this. He just throws that cutter in, and there's a heater, dots it, and he can also throw that little cutter away on the outside part of the plate like that to go with his fastball. That's what makes him so tough to the righties.
Well, that's away and it's low. I mean,
yeah.
You're not going to hit it even if you go after it, probably.
Well, the best you could probably do is maybe foul it off if you're lucky.
Now Yan Gomes. Lester's retired the first 7 Indians so far tonight, striking out 4 of them. And the only 3 balls put in play have all been popped up. Tied him up.
Well, you're going to see
the cutter.
Yeah, that's the cutter that just keeps. It's a ball. But I mean, and once you swing at it early, he'll continue to run it in, and he won't throw it for a strike. Then he took a little bit off. That's the breaking ball.
Gomes with a line shot to right center field. It's a base hit as Grady Sizemore fires it back in. Time now for our Hear Right Audiology sounds of the game. Terry Francona returning to Fenway.
You know, had to get some things out of the way maybe before. Now they're out of the way, and you know we got to try to win. And certainly, you know, have a lot of good memories from here, and a lot of people that fun saying hello to. You know, but when the game starts, you want to win bad.
He's never minced any words with regards to, okay, I'm here. I had a great time when I was here, but I'm here to beat you now.
Well, and he's right. I mean, you move on. But you don't forget some of the special people that will always remain here that, you know, that he became friends with for the time, the 8 years he spent here.
Up the middle, Pedroia steps on the bag, goes to first. An inning-ending double play. Indians get their first hit, but they are scoreless through 3 with the Red Sox on top 1-0. Of the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third, the Red Sox have a 1-0 lead. Top of the order due up for Boston here. Brock Holt popped up on the infield his first time up. Brock Holt was hitless in his game last night against Baltimore, and that ended his career best 10-game hitting streak. He's one of the few Red Sox that has swung the bat well during their offensive malaise. Gives you an idea how bad things have been going for them offensively. Holt went 4 for 5 Sunday at Detroit. That's his second 4-hit game this year. No other Red Sox hitter has more than one 4-hit game. Ortiz and Pedroia each have one, but he's already got 2.
Yeah.
And nobody else does. And he's playing in what, his 32nd game?
Well, you get called up, you're a kid, you're going to get a lot of fastballs early. They'll start pitching to him once they start seeing him around. Keep putting up some 4-hit games. It won't take long to get the scouting report out to make this kid hit a breaking ball. Although he did a nice job when he was in Cleveland. Found a way to get on base.
The 2-2 is lined to right. Red Sox get their leadoff man aboard. Let's go downstairs to Katie. Katie, I asked Rick earlier about pitching here at Fenway Park and if it does things to a pitcher psychologically. He said sometimes it does. We didn't think that would be the case with Josh Tomlin, though, tonight.
No, and I don't think so either, Matt. But what was interesting is pitching coach Mickey Callaway told me a fly ball pitcher like Tomlin here in Fenway can be tricky. The reason you can still make a good pitch but end up giving away an extra base hit with the way the ball plays because of the dimensions, the green monster, the spacey right center field. The key, though, for Tomlin in particular, not only keep the ball down but have a good feel for that curveball and cutter early in this game.
He's got Dustin Pedroia up here with the leadoff man aboard. Pedroia grounded out to second base his first time up.
You know, you come into this park and you can get intimidated by that wall, but you're going to have to pitch some right-handers inside. You know, you can't leave mistakes over it. You have to use both sides of the plate. You know, and left-handers, if you stay away, you got to use both sides of the plate, because the left-handers, that wall's not that far away. They can go the other way and play pepper with it.
Good block by Gomes. And a count 2-0.
This is what you have to try and stay away from, the 2-0 counts, because then you really got to come in and make some quality pitches.
Well, Pedroia was in an 0 for 12 funk at the plate. He had a couple of hits last night, but on one of those hits, he tried to stretch into a double, and Nick Markakis threw him out at second base. It ended the inning. Pedroia drills one deep left, but it's going to hook. Foul at the last moment. Whew, that was close. Very close.
He went with a 2-0 fastball in. See, they wanted it away. He made a mistake up and in, and Pedroia is a good high ball hitter for a little guy. And look at, he just misses it foul. Stay out of that area. And we had a good view from where we're sitting. It was about our height, and it did hook late and got around the pole. So Josh missed his location there.
Two-one pitch. Oh, what a play! Caught by Santana. It's an easy double play, and there wasn't anything really Holt could have done to avoid it.
No, you can't. That's right. I mean, that's what makes Pedroia such a good hitter. He pulled one and just missed a home run foul, and then he was trying to hit that hole with nobody out, and right into the tracks of Santana. A line drive right at him. Automatic double play.
Second inning in a row, the Sox have hit into a double play. And now Tomlin can deal with David Ortiz with nobody on base. Ortiz a ground out his first time up, and he takes a strike. Red Sox hit into double plays in 3 straight innings last night against Baltimore. And that can certainly begin to add another layer of frustration.
That one right there is not hitting into a double play. That was a good at bat when you ground into them. You know, the 4-6-3s, the 6-4-3s. That can get frustrating, yes, but it's back-to-back innings that Tomlin's been able to get the double play ball. And they both coming at a big time, because if that goes through, it's first and third again, and nobody out.
Santana in the right spot at the right time. Now Tomlin trying to take care of Ortiz. He ropes it foul. David Ortiz can still whip the bat around.
Yeah,
38 years old.
Yeah, he's got good bat speed for a 38-year-old, no question.
I mean, that home run he hit against Detroit, now granted it was a slider, but it got hit a long way off Jabba Chamberlain.
See what he can do here, though, with the fastball is you can go the other way with it. It could be a possible double, and if it carries enough, it could be a home run the other way. And then you speed up your bat when you get the breaking ball. I was watching him take batting practice today, and I saw him a couple of rounds where he just hit everything the other way, and he could beat the shift if he wants to right now with 2 outs. I guarantee, or 2 strikes. He could go that way, but he just continues to try to pull it.
2-2 in the air to center field. Michael Bourne makes the catch, and the inning is over. 3 complete from Fenway. It's the Red Sox 1 and the Indians nothing. Great clip of the game, Michael Bourne laying down a perfect bunt. Indians didn't have a lot of hits, but he had a couple of them. Giordano Ventura was very good for Kansas City.
Yes, he was.
And the one opportunity the Indians had came against Wade Davis late in that 8th inning. They loaded the bases, nobody out, and then he got back to being Wade Davis, who hasn't given up a run in 19 consecutive innings. Michael Bourne showing bunt, but taking ball 1.
They couldn't have had a better opportunity. They had the right guys up, too, and they just couldn't do it yesterday. They've got their work cut out for him again today. You said Ventura, he was very good. He had a good fastball changeup yesterday. He didn't have his good breaking ball. And today we're seeing a good fastball cutter go to work.
First time through the lineup, the Indians managed just 1 hit. Lester struck out 4.
And in that hit, he was down in the count 2-1, and he gave Gomes a fastball, and Gomes got the base hit to right. Other than that, he's been ahead of almost every hitter. And he has 4 strikeouts first time through.
Called a strike. Bourne didn't think so. And the count 2-2.
Well, let's take a look. It's a 2-1 count. That's outside. That's certainly not a pitch you're going to swing at when you have the count in your favor. Now he's going to be forced to swing at it.
Checked his swing. Slow roller hit to short. Herrera still able to throw him out.
There's the first breaking ball. You can throw the fastball by you. Fastball to get the pop up. And, you know, he's going to be tough. If he doesn't walk anybody and give you any base runners, he's going to be a tough act to go after today. You're going to have to hit your way on and put a few together.
He's given up 8 home runs this year in his 13 starts. Juan Nieves, the Boston pitching coach, looking on. Cabrera pops one down the right field line, slicing, and it's going to be foul out of play. 0-2 on Cabrera. It was his error that allowed the only run of this game to score. A little bit low with it. So Cabrera gets himself back to even on the count of 2-2. And again able to lay off. And the count goes full. High pop to right. Grady Sizemore under it. Now called off by the center fielder, Jackie Bradley. 2 down. Fans, don't forget you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have one of your photos shown during our telecast. It's all courtesy of AT&T. The batter is Michael Brantley, who struck out his first time up. Mentioned before that John Lester is a free agent at season's end. Brantley pops one in the air, shallow left field, dropping for a base hit. So Michael bloops one in, and the Indians have their second hit of the night. Keeps the inning alive with 2 down here in the 4th.
Well, it was a good pitch. Brantley just did a great job just to hit that ball. It was off the plate. He hit it off the end of the bat. Looked like a little cutter running away from him. And just gets enough of it to get it over the infield in front of the outfield so he gets the base hit.
Red Sox general manager Ben Cherington was recently asked by members of the Boston media if he would look at trading John Lester if the Sox fall out of the race at some point this year. And he said no. Cherington said, quote, "Our position has not changed. We hope to have a conversation again about his contract. We want to find a way to keep him here, but right now we're just trying to win games and stay in this thing. I believe we will, and when we do, we're going to want John Lester pitching for us down the stretch."
Right, like I said, they haven't made any substantial offer for him yet to sign anything, so you can't. They're certainly not going to get rid of him because they want him.
That's obviously common practice in baseball. Most teams and then players agree that if they don't get a deal done by the start of the year, they tend to table things, and we'll get back to it when the season's over.
Well, and you know what? Because you're a free agent, people believe now you have to be signed before the year starts. I don't understand that. There's nothing wrong with playing it out and discussing it at the end of the year. You come up, you have your opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with signing a guy when you're at the end of the contract.
That's Ben Cherington, the Boston GM. 1-2 pitch. Rick, I think the only problem with that notion is that teams and fans in particular, now they know, because usually when a guy plays it out, they usually end up signing elsewhere.
Well, and then that's what happens. You know, sometimes you can't make that decision if you wanted to sign him to a long-term deal or not.
Kipnis pops one in the air to left. Backpedaling is Nava, and he'll make the catch. No runs, a hit, a man left. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth. Still Boston 1, Cleveland nothing.
Jersey. That'll take place June 21st. The Detroit Tigers will be in town next weekend, and you can celebrate the former shortstop's induction into the Indians Hall of Fame, plus enjoy Led Zeppelin fireworks following the ball game. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Boston leading at 1-0 here, bottom of the fourth. Mike Napoli, who reached on an error, scored the only run of this game in the second inning. Takes a strike.
Send along some birthday wishes. Don Sarge Eberhardt. He is turning 95 today from South Amherst. Happy birthday, Sarge. Jerry Moyer, 84. Happy birthday to you, Jerry. And Vinny Safani is turning 6 today, a big Tribe fan. Happy birthday to you, Vinny.
Tomlin's 1-2 pitch to Napoli.
Oh,
hit him in
nice
the foot.
Kick save.
Hot foot. I'll make sure he's all right.
Looked like it got him on the bottom of the shoe.
That's what I thought, Rick, but yeah, he looks like he's fine.
It looked like it hit him right on the spike. Let's check it out as his foot was coming down. It did. It hit him in the left foot. Did a little soft shoe around it, and it stayed right in front of him. He picked it up and gets the out. Well done.
There's Daniel Nava, base hit his first time up. Nava's hit better against the Indians than any other opponent he's faced in the big leagues. He's now 17 for 40 against the Tribe, way better than a .400 average. just missed. And it's 2-1.
Got enough of it.
Yes, he did. He's got his second hit of the night.
Not a bad pitch. He just muscled it out of there.
Injury report tonight brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. Clay Buchholz, Felix Dubront, a couple of pitchers on the 15-day deal. Shane Victorino, Will Middlebrooks. They've had their share of injuries. There is no doubt about it.
We show that list every night. It's with different teams, and it's loaded by everybody, it seems like.
Last year, the Red Sox had to deal with Clay Buchholz. I think he missed a couple of months of the DL, and Victorino had injuries from time to time that sidelined him. But other than that, they were relatively a healthy group, and that's normally the case. The team that stays healthiest, that has enough talent, usually wins the World Championship. It's been a different story this year for Boston, and with some different faces too. That's always part of it. Attrition is maybe the hardest battle to win in pro sports. When you win, there are riches for some to be had elsewhere.
Well, yeah.
And at the same time, I think most general managers would probably agree you don't want to bring back the exact same team year after year. You've got to make a few changes just to keep it fresh. And
always have to try to improve,
yeah,
and keep things going. You're right. Because you win doesn't mean you have to stay pat and try it again. Rarely do the same things happen to you in back-to-back years, when it comes to sports. Every year is different.
Grady Sizemore taking a strike. Sizemore had, well, in the games we've seen anyway, it's the best swing we've seen him take in the games against the Indians. He rifled a double over the head of Ryan Rayburn in deep right field.
Well, back in Cleveland, if you remember, he made the last out of the game in 2 straight games.
Striking out
in the first 2 games back.
Popping up.
That's what Tomlin does as well. I mean, those throws to first base don't seem like a whole lot, but still, nobody has yet to try and steal a base off him this year. Not that Nava's a base stealer. He has 2 and he hasn't been caught, but that Tomlin does. He just, if you're going to get one, you are going to have to earn it.
Swung on and missed. Tomlin gets just his second strikeout tonight, but they are now 2 down here in the 4th inning.
Nice curveball. This is the pitch he had last start, and he gets ahead out of the zone, gets the hitter to chase it. Well done. That was his pitch in Texas in his last start. You look at his strikeout to walk ratio coming in with 7-1 tonight. He has 37 strikeouts, just 6 walks. And the walk came to Ross, who's the hitter right now, back in the 2nd inning to load the bases.
Two down with Nava at first.
Can't throw this guy strikes.
And it's a guy you want to throw strikes to because Ross has 13 hits and 74 at bats this year. There's a strike. 2-1. Now the 2-1 pitch. At the knees, a strike. John Farrell told me earlier tonight, you know, it is sometimes troubling when he said you look at your lineup, you're putting it up there, and you see some of the offensive numbers that your guys have. And you got guys batting like Ross, 176. You got a guy hitting 201. Nava's hitting 168. He said even Ortiz and Pedroia are 30, 40 points below their career averages. 2-2. Foul out of play. I'm sure it wasn't any reassuring, but I said, well, look around baseball. You're not alone. I mean, there are teams everywhere that are looking, going, what happened to our offense? And I don't know, Rick, if it's just one of those years, if pitching has just gotten ahead.
The strikeouts and the pitching is dominated. You're right. You look around, and there's a lot of guys around the 200.
With Josh Tomlin, that's called a cluster right there.
Yes, it is. And it's been in the same spot.
That was in the dirt, full count. Got to assume that's what the scouting report says, but at some point you would think you'd want to show him something inside just to.
Well, not 3-2. You go ahead, full count. This guy will be off and running, and you try and get him to swing. Just paint him down and away. See what happens. Let him make the adjustment.
Tomlin's already made 72 pitches on the night. Right back.
Called off a perfect pitch.
Sets up away again, and I guess it was high. It was walked the light hitting David Ross twice tonight. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, what does Lonnie Chisenhall credit to his hot streak? Well, Jason Kipnis is still looking to get in the groove after his DL stint. And hear what NBA star Kevin Love had to say about Cleveland. Complete coverage of all today's action involving Ohio sports on FoxSportsOhio.com. Here's Jonathan Herrera. He banged into that double play back in the second inning. That right now is the biggest play in the game. All the way to the backstop, and the runners.
That's another cross-up. That's another cross-up. They had problems back in the second inning.
Runner gets to second base.
I don't know what signs they're using, but whatever it is, he was waiting for a breaking ball. Did you see him duck?
Yeah.
Look at, he wanted the breaking ball away. He gets a heater. And Gomes has to duck out of the way of it. They're not on the same page at all.
Well, it's been with the runner in scoring position.
So they're either, I don't know where they're rolling over, if they're going second sign or whatever signs they're using, they better simplify it because it's not working to this point. This is back in that second inning. That was one. right there. That he was looking for a breaking ball, looking for another breaking ball. He got fastball every time. So Gomes is thinking a breaking ball is coming. Tomlin's throwing the fastball. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's messing up.
To center field, Michael Bourne makes the grab. The Red Sox strand a pair, and after 4, Boston 1, Cleveland nothing. Sunnyside Toyota, a quarter-mile west of the Great Northern Mall on the North Olmsted Auto Mile. By Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. Red Sox lead it 1-0 as we head to inning number 5, and you get a look at Fenway Park from our Panini's overstuffed cam. Carlos Santana, Ryan Rayburn, Nick Swisher due up for the Tribe here in the 5th. Tribe has a single in each of the last 2 innings against John Lester, the only 2 base runners so far tonight.
No, not many times have we mentioned the counts, the 2-0 counts, 2-1 counts. Gomes got a hit on the 2-1 count. Brantley's came off the first pitch. But now Santana's sitting here with a 2-0 count. So when you get in situations, you have to take advantage of them.
Three balls, no strikes with Ryan Rayburn next. And Santana draws a 4-pitch walk. Time for a Mazda game break. Back to the studios. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. Baltimore swinging the bats well. 4.5 back of front-running Toronto in the AL East. Rayburn swings and pops the first pitch up into foul ground.
After a 4-pitch walk, man, he goes after that first pitch and makes an easy out.
Twice tonight he's popped up on the infield.
Well, the Indians will host Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers. That'll be on Friday night. And fans can enjoy fireworks. The show will be set to the music of Nirvana. Plus, Rally Alley will take place prior to the game. Fun and games and good family entertainment. So come on out next weekend. Tigers in town.
Up comes Nick Swisher, called out on strikes, his only time up. Swisher back from the disabled list, DHing tonight. Shoots for the outside corner, but he missed, and it's 1-1. Nick Swisher, a veteran of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry of so many years. So playing here at Fenway, nothing really new or out of the ordinary for him.
Yeah, you could call it a comfort zone when you come in the heat of the battle of those two teams.
Indians have lost 6 of their last 7 here at Fenway Park. Now into the Indians dugout. Holy mackerel, that had Mike Aviles in its sights. I don't know if he got out of the way or not. He was twisting and turning and trying to dodge it. I think he did.
Well, you go back to 2008, Matt, you talk about the Indians here. The Red Sox are 18-8 against the Tribe here in Boston since '08. So it's been a tough place for the Indians to play. The Sox were 6-1 against them last year overall, but the Indians swept them in the first 3. And we're ending with 4 here. And we will be done for the year.
Nick Swisher working the count here, and it's 3-2. The payoff pitch. Fouled right back. And Swisher stays alive. The at-bat we're seeing from Swisher is not unlike the at-bats you would see in a typical Yankees-Red Sox game. Jason Giambi told me once that's why those games lasted so long, because the Yankees Red Sox veteran hitters, he said, they're going to try to grind that starting pitcher into the ground. Got to make him throw as many pitches as possible. Swisher flies to right, 2 down here in the 5th. Yan Gomes coming up. The Brazilian native might have been distracted a little bit earlier this afternoon. Let's go down to Katie with him. Was he locked into the World Cup?
He was, and as you would expect, Matt, he was sporting none other than his country, Brazil's t-shirt around the clubhouse today. His teammates were watching as the first game kicked off. It was Brazil against Croatia. Corey Kluber sporting the U.S. soccer t-shirt. Croatia went up first, and of course, Matt, Gomes heard nothing but heckling from his teammates inside the clubhouse. They were able to pull out the 3-1 win. U.S. is who everyone is rooting for, and they play Monday night against Ghana, Matt.
Thanks, Katie. Always appreciate that soccer update. Gomes had the Indians' first hit in the 3rd inning. A sharp hit ball to third, and that's going to be an infield hit for Yan Gomes. Hit it hard. I would imagine they'll give him a hit.
Yeah, I would think so. That ball was scorched. There's not much Holt could do over there. It deflects off him, and then Herrera tried to make the play at second base. They wouldn't have had a chance at first, and that ball jumped up. You'll see that's where Santana goes sliding in safely. So first and second now with 2 outs.
It is indeed officially scored a base hit. So the Tribe with 2 on and 2 out. First time they've had 2 base runners in an inning. Mike Aviles grounded into an inning-ending double play back in the 3rd. And it's inside for ball 1. Doesn't appear to be any kind of wind tonight at all. Flags are hanging limp. Straightaway center field. Ross, the catcher, going to go out. This is the first time the Indians have had a runner reach second base in the game, so they may just be going over their sequences. So the Indians with a hit in 3 straight innings now off Lester. They're looking for the 2-out RBI hit now. And Aviles works the count to 2-0. Yeah, swing and a miss.
That's that cutter. Yeah. He might have helped him out there. That's that pitch, but boy, you see, you're looking for a fastball and you want to get it, but then all of a sudden that ball just keeps running in. That was a pretty darn good pitch down at the knee. Had some run to it.
Popped up foul and out of play. Aviles on the year. He has batted .224 with a runner in scoring position. Just missed. Lester thought he had strike 3. He was headed to the dugout.
He sure was.
And Eric Cooper said no. Now it's a full count.
He sure was. It was at the backdoor cutter. Yes, that's a good pitch. I think Aviles, he's lucky right there. That was a pretty good pitch. That's the cutter away. You know, you're thinking fastball, but he will throw that cutter the arm side slot as he does his fastball, and you give up on it. But we'll see what happens here. I'm Mike Aviles. I think I'm swinging.
Well, the runners will be moving if he should find a gap. Santana's at second, Gomes at first. Now time called. Red Sox leading in 1-0. We're in the 5th. Now Ross goes out for another chat. Probably just wanted to make sure there were no misunderstandings about what pitch they wanted to throw here, 3-2.
Well, he could throw that same pitch again if he wanted to. And I bet he wouldn't call it a ball this time. He could go cutter in after going away with that pitch. He can go a number. He's going back with the cutter in.
And Aviles fouls it off over into the dugout. Matt Cottrero trying to knock that one down in the dugout. Again, the runners will be off. And the 3-2 to Aviles is popped in the air, right field over near the line, and it is caught. Oh, what a play by Grady Sizemore, who overran it, hit the sidewall, and still made the catch. So Sizemore gets Lester out of trouble here in the 5th. Back and look at the play Grady Sizemore made. Ricky overruns the play.
Yes, he does. And that ball starts coming back. You know, we talked there might not be much wind, but that ball started to blow back into fair territory. But the amazing thing there, he was playing shallow enough. That's not very deep where he came in at around that cut. So for him to get over there and make a play is something.
Jackie Bradley Jr. leads off the bottom of the 5th with a single into right field. And Boston has their leadoff man aboard for the 3rd time in 5 innings tonight. Brock Holt 1 for 2 tonight, singled back in the 3rd. Runner goes and the ball is popped out of play down the left side. You can't blame John Farrell for starting his runner trying to do something to shake loose offensively. He said, we've tried a number of different things. We've had 5 or 6 different leadoff guys. We've, we're trying to get the middle guys consistently put together with Pedroia, Ortiz, and Napoli. But he said, I'm not to the point where I'm going to pull the lineup out of a hat yet.
Well, he will if they keep scoring like they were in the last series. But they started the runner right there, and you want to try and be aggressive if you can to help guys out. You know, they're 14th in the league in stolen bases. Okay, they've only have 21. So you start your runners. But they have been successful in 10 of their last 12 stolen base attempts, which is 83%, which is very good. But they've only tried 12 stolen bases in the last month. And the only AL team better than them in that time is the Indians. They've stolen 85% of their bases. But that was the hit and run on the first pitch there.
Oh, the ball gets away from Santana. And Bradley's in the scoring position.
That's going to be the error on Josh Tomlin. He normally holds them very well. This time he bounces it. Not a good throw. And he will give up the base. You see that one? There's nothing Santana could do up inside the runner and skips past Bradley. So he will go to second.
Second error of the night. Count is 0-2 on Brock Holt. Bounced in front of the plate, and Gomes with a nice block.
Well, he was going for the strikeout, not letting him try to pull the ball, and that's what you have to throw that curveball. So Gomes, a nice job keeping it in front.
Hit hard to first, backhanded nicely by Santana. He'll flip it to Tomlin, and that's the first out of the inning. But I tell you what, give Holt a lot of credit. He's down on the count 0-2, then a ball and 2 strikes. Tomlin's trying to get a strikeout, and Holt still gets Bradley over to third base. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. It was a throwing error by Asdrubal Cabrera that allowed Mike Napoli to reach to start the second inning. The Red Sox would get him home on an RBI double by Grady Sizemore. And that's the only run of the game to this point. Boston, though, loaded the bases in that inning with nobody out. And Tomlin got a double play and a strikeout to get out of the inning without any further damage done. Now the infield is in with a runner at third and 1 out. And another good block by Gomes.
Now this one is way out in front of the plate. Well done by Gomes. Well done. You know, Pedroia, the guy that hit into the double play with a man on first base, hit a line drive right into the tracks of Santana's last at bat. Right now, that's what Tomlin's trying to do, make perfect pitches with Pedroia up there.
Ball down in the dirt. 2-1. The infield is in as Pedroia tries to get him home from third. Slowly chopped to third. It's a fair ball, and Aviles throws him out, and Bradley had to hold at third. Nice job by Mike Aviles, and now there are 2 down in the inning.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it was going to go foul, but Aviles gets his feet in fair territory. Watch, it's coming down the line. That's what makes Bradley freeze. And it was a fair ball. It stayed inside the bag. You throw out Pedroia, and now you can walk this guy. Or at least pitch around him. Don't let him go out there and beat you. He's saying it was foul ball, Pedroia, but it wasn't foul. He's talking to Farrell. And now your manager, you got to go out if he says it was foul. But it wasn't. It was fair. We just saw it on our replay. He's going to ask home plate umpire Eric Cooper because it's his call
yeah.
between him and the bag.
And anything that's in front of an umpire, you can't review anyway.
Right. But watch, it stays straight. There it is. I mean, that's in fair territory because you can see where Bradley is at. And even the third base umpire said it was fair, but so did the home plate umpire. So they both agreed. And I think Pedroia, just frustration right there, was hoping that it would be maybe called foul. But it wasn't. And it was not foul. It was just frustration.
So not an intentional walk forthcoming to David Ortiz. And he almost picked off his first base coach. And it's strike one. Well, as I said before, he's hitting 40 points below his career average. But if you make a mistake, he can hurt you. He's still the one guy in this lineup that you have to be very careful with.
Well, I wouldn't pitch to him.
He hits one high in the air, deep center field. Back is Bourne on the track at the wall, gone.
I don't understand it.
Just got done saying he's the one guy in this lineup who can hurt you, and he just did. A 2-out, 2-run homer makes it 3-0 Boston.
That made no sense to me. That's your leading RBI guy on the team, the guy that can hurt you, the guy that can leave the ballpark, and in one swing of the bat, with 2 outs now, he grouped one. I mean, he made a mistake. He didn't hit his location where he wanted to. I still would have put him on. Look at Tomlin. He's upset. Wow. That makes it a 3-0 game.
Well, I know Mickey Callaway didn't go out there and say throw one down the middle, but I would love to know what the conversation. I mean, obviously, they decided that they weren't going to just intentionally put him on.
Well, that's just a mistake by Tomlin. You don't throw him a strike. He grouped him. You don't throw him a strike. And really, a lot of times when you leave it up to that pitcher, you almost have to, as a manager, say just walk
put him on.
Just walk him. You know, you take the pressure off and then go after the next guy. And a guy that is, you know, spent most of the time on the DL. He just got off less than a week ago in a 1-run game, and they had an opportunity. They got the big out with Pedroia, but then the mistake again was made pitching to Ortiz.
Now Napoli slugs on the left, right at the base of the wall. Brantley will hold him to a long single.
Here's a curveball he left upstairs. He's middle of the plate now. This is where the wall hurts you. When you're ahead, you hit that line drive and hit the monster, and it comes back to that left fielder and it turns it into a single. Where a lot of parks it would have been a double.
Daniel Nava is 2 for 2 on the night. Boston leading at 3-0, and Nick Hagedorn getting loose. David Ortiz with a 2-out, 2-run homer here in the 5th. Gaps in left center. Brantley over to try and cut it off. He will. And now he's going to throw it towards third. They might have him caught. Throw back to second, and that will end the inning. But the Indians pay the price. They play with fire, and they get burnt. And it's now 3-0 Boston. And it's time now for our AT&T fan photo. Remember, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown on one of our telecasts. Somebody's having a little Surfside fun. Top of the order for the Indians here in the 6th. That one bounces to the backstop. John Lester has made 67 pitches tonight. 41 of those have been strikes. In the air, down the left field line, Nava over, and it's out of play. You know what makes the decision to even throw a pitch anywhere near the plate to Ortiz in that situation even more perplexing is the fact that Terry Francona probably knows better than anyone what a guy like Ortiz can do, when he managed him for all those years in Boston. I mean, he's been the bell cow of this offense for more than a decade. I mean, he's the guy that makes them go.
Well, when you leave it into the hands of the pitcher who's out there pitching to him, he just can't make the mistake. It relies on him. Now, if you can't trust him throwing it, then you have to walk him. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to give your pitcher the opportunity to pitch to him, then you blame Tomlin.
Well, and the kind of stand-up guy that Josh is, I'm sure he's not going to point the finger at anybody but
because
himself.
He throws too many strikes to begin with. He doesn't like to throw balls. You know, he's a strike-throwing machine. So that's the guy you have to say, well, maybe just walk him. You know, we'll take our chances with the next guy, because that's his makeup is throwing strikes.
Bourne grounds one wide of first. Nice diving stop by Napoli. And Lester drops the ball. The Indians get their leadoff man aboard here in the 6th.
Nice stop. And I think the feed was right there. I don't know if Lester was, maybe searching for the bag or took his eye off the ball, but it wasn't a bad feed by Napoli. He threw it pretty hard. Let's watch. But there's Lester, gets a good jump. Nice play by Napoli. There's the throw. I think he took his eye off of it. He should have had him.
Well,
you got to catch it, and then he's looking for the base to step on it.
He's going to get charged with an error, but still, I mean, how many times has the guy done that? It's there.
That's the pitcher's error. That's not the first baseman. Yeah. There it is. Okay.
Sure, yeah. But I'm just saying, how many times has the guy done that? You don't always look the ball right into your glove.
Well,
do that 100 times, but he didn't come up with it. Now is Drupal Cabrera 0 for 2, swing and a miss. Cabrera sends one high in the air, shallow right field. Boy, Lester induces a lot of pop-ups. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tonight for the Indians. Michael Brantley. Base hit to left his last time up. On a play. Brantley rifles one toward left field. That's going to get down for a hit. That'll go to the wall. Flying into third is Michael Bourne, and he'll be stopped right there as the throw comes into third. Michael Brantley with a double into the left field corner. And now the Indians with runners at second and third and only one out.
You know, that's only the fourth hit. Brantley has two of them, and Gomes has the other two, but his first extra base hit. Boy, he did a nice job on a good pitch. From Lester, he just shoots it the other way. Slices away from Nava, so it'll be a double for Brantley. They have second and third, and they're looking to come right back. The air setting up the inning here for the Indians. Getting it started, a big double right there, and now it's up to Kipnis to see if he can get him home.
Now Kipnis 0 for 2 tonight, but he comes in with a 9-game hitting streak. Jason struck out in the second inning. Flied to left in the fourth. And a ground ball gets by Pedroia into right field. Bourne scores around third. Here comes Brantley. He scores two. And Jason Kipnis gets the Indians on the board with a 2-run single, extending his hitting streak to 10 games. It's now a 3-2 ball game as Jason gets RBIs number 20 and 21.
You know, it looked like Pedroia was going to at least maybe knock this thing down, but Kipnis hit it a lot harder than they thought, and it gets under the glove there, Pedroia. Look at, he's upset with himself. He didn't knock it down, and that allows Brantley to score from second base. So it's a 3-2 ball game. Back come the Indians, and they answered that 2 spot on the board.
Now Carlos Santana walked his last time up. In the dirt. Boy. Nice block by Ross. And he's going to go out for a chat. Thought it was interesting, though. You got Brantley, left-handed hitter. He takes one down the left field line into the corner. And then the next man up, Kipnis, left-handed hitter, looked like they wanted to go into him so that he wouldn't be able to do the same thing Brantley had just done. But he didn't make his pitch. And just as we saw with Josh Tomlin, if you don't make your pitch, especially to those middle-of-the-order guys, they usually put the ball in play and hurt you.
Yeah, you're going through the third time through the lineup now. So they've seen your stuff. Let's see, they wanted it inside. Way in. But see, that one middle of plate. That gave Kipnis some swinging room, and he took advantage of it. He jumped all over it. He didn't miss it, and it was down. That's the one thing, if that was the cutter, you can't miss over the plate. You got to miss in. That might have been just a straight fastball. Not sure what that pitch was.
2-0 count for Santana. And that cutter in for a strike. And the count is 2-1. Santana drives one deep center field. Back is Bradley, and he's got room. He'll make the catch well in front of the warning track. And that is out number 2.
Well, 10,000 fans will receive a new T-shirt by popular local apparel company GV Art Design. That'll take place Wednesday, the 18th of June, when the Indians will take on Mike Trout and the Angels. Visit Indians.com for your ticket details.
Two down now for Ryan Rayburn, who is 0 for 2. Down and in for ball 1. swing and a miss. Rayburn had to count in his favor. Got his fastball, but couldn't do anything with it. It's 2-1.
See if this had any run to it. A little bit. That wasn't his good four-seamer. That was about 91. That looked like it might have been a cutter.
Runner goes. Kipnis got a great jump. And Rayburn socked it foul.
Yeah, here's one where he just read him perfectly and took off. But, you know, with the count the way it is, it's 2-2 count. Not much you can do. He would have had the base. Now he'll probably just sit there, and if he misses, it'll go to a full count and he'll be off and running anyway.
Rayburn, nice job to lay off. Tough pitch there. Full count. Went to the curveball, but it missed low. Runner goes, 3-2 pitch, and a ground ball off the glove of the third baseman holding the left field. Kipnis has to put on the brakes because Nava was right there. The left fielder came in to back it up. But the Indians keep the inning alive, and they'll make Lester have to throw more pitches now.
Yeah, you can't take chances here in left field as a base runner. You have to just stay put, and I know Kipnis wanted to go because he was running. The ball deflected off the glove of Holt. But Nava comes in, and he might have been able to beat somebody to third base, but you can't take that chance. You're in scoring position now. So you wisely hold up, and look at Lester. He's all upset. Maybe he felt that play should have been made, or is he upset at the pitch? I don't know.
Usually, Rick, and you know this more than anybody, usually pitchers don't show up their fellow position players on the field. So I'm guessing he's upset with himself. Or maybe just upset that the ball didn't go in Holt's glove. I mean, he made the effort there.
Yes, I mean, sure he was. That ball was hit pretty hard. It's the third hit in the inning. This inning should be over because he started it with an error to begin with. By not catching the throw from Napoli.
Couldn't tell, Rick, and again, I'm an amateur lip reader, but it looked like Lester was yelling at himself right there.
Okay.
I thought it looked like he said, make a better pitch, dummy. I think that's what he was saying, so it looked like he's upset with himself.
You're amateur. You're really good.
Could be totally wrong, too.
But it sounded good to me. You convinced me.
He might have said, I wanted more mayonnaise on my sandwich.
I'll tell you what, the next time I see somebody saying something on the field, I'm going right to you.
Nick Swisher, bouncing ball to short, and that will end the inning. The Indians get on the board, though. Jason Kipnis with a 2-run single, and the Indians close the gap to a single run. John Lester with a glare after he allowed the Indians to come right back and answer the 2 runs that Boston scored. Red Sox still lead it by a run as we go to the bottom of the 6th, and Josh Tomlin will stay on with activity in the Cleveland bullpen. Left-handed hitting Grady Sizemore to lead it off. He doubled in a run and struck out tonight. Way out in front. One-two pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. 3rd strikeout for Josh Tomlin. 1 down here in the 6th. July 15th, baseball's best gather in Minnesota as Derek Jeter will take the field in his last All-Star game. Promises to be an emotional, unforgettable night. Special coverage begins at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the 2014 All-Star game at 7:30 on Fox. David Ross has walked twice tonight. Bumps one high in the air, foul, and it drops harmlessly. Double barrel action now in the Tribe pen. Scott Atchison has joined Nick Hagedorn. And David Ross takes a strike. Tigers and White Sox are scoreless through 4 innings in the Windy City. Broke his bat, lined it to second, 2 down.
Well, another Sugardale Dollar Dog Night will take place on Friday. The Indians will host the first place Detroit Tigers. It'll be Dollar Dogs all night long. Come on out to the ballpark. Should be a fun weekend series. That'll close out that series before we got the Angels first for a 4-game series, and then the Tigers over the weekend. And then we head out west for the last time.
Jonathan Herrera 0 for 2 tonight. Takes a called strike. And it count quickly 0-2. Roped into right field, a base hit on an 0-2 pitch. Herrera around second. He's going to go for third. Here's Kipnis with the relay throw. Not in time. Herrera with a triple, his first of the year. It comes with 2 outs here in the 6th inning.
Yeah, you mentioned 0-2 pitch. He drilled it down into the corner, and that's where the triples come into this ballpark. It's right down the line, and you don't play him as a pull hitter. So Rayburn has to wait for that ball to get to him. He got it in fine, and the relay was very good. The speed just gets him a triple, and that's going to do it for Tomlin, because out comes Frank Kona.
Well, Josh Tomlin will depart. 5 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 3 runs. Walked 2, struck out 3. Red Sox lead at 3-2, and the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen will be for left-hander Nick Hagedorn to face the left-handed hitting Jackie Bradley Jr. Runner at third with 2 down. Nick Hagedorn coming on to face the Red Sox here. He's got a left-handed hitter. He'll be facing Jackie Bradley Jr. He's already worked 2 scoreless innings, striking out 4 batters against Boston this year. In his career, Hagedorn has faced his old club going 6 innings and allowing just 1 earned run. Two and 0. Missed again. 3 balls, no strikes.
Well, this is the guy you wanted to go after, too. Started him off breaking ball and missed, and then 2 straight fastballs out of the zone. See if he can come back.
He locked him on 4 straight. None of them were even close. Top of the order now, Brock Holt, another left-handed hitter. So Hagedorn stays on for now.
No, this will be his last hitter.
Holt's 1 for 3 tonight.
I want to see if they stay aggressive and maybe send Bradley early, because I doubt if they'll throw through here with speed on third and speed on first. He's having a tough time throwing a strike, and he's not going to throw to first base. He's going to concentrate on throwing a strike. But he hasn't thrown one since coming in. 5 straight balls. Hagedorn didn't retire a left-hander in his last outing in Kansas City.
Finds the strike zone. It's 1-1 now on Brock Holt. a foul right back into the crowd. Hagedorn came to the Indians at the trading deadline in '09, along with Justin Masterson, for Victor Martinez. Masterson will go tomorrow for the Tribe in Game 2 of this 4-game series. Runner goes. Pitch is low and away. No chance for Gomes. A steal for Bradley, his 5th. And 2 now in scoring position for Boston. And the count back to even now at 2-2 for Brock Holt.
Thing of it is, when you get to that 2-strike pitch to the left-handers, can you throw that breaking ball for a strike? They haven't chased it since Hagedorn, that I recall, since he's been called back up.
Full count.
You know, his job is going to, he had one of the 2 left-handers he's going to have to get out. He'll be gone if this one reaches.
And the payoff pitch. Popped up, foul, and out of play. Well, not including this year, Hagedorn has pitched in parts of 3 big league seasons. All combined give you roughly 1 full season of work, 72 appearances, and in 67 2/3 innings, 42 walks, 67 strikeouts. Not to mention the 54 hits, so just a lot of traffic for a guy who's going to be a late inning reliever. Fouled back.
Well, and he comes down and he turns into a 1-pitch pitcher, because if he's not throwing his breaking ball for a strike, the left-handers don't have to sit on him. Because you get to 2 strikes, if he bounces it and they don't swing, you get back into the hitter's count, or you get back into a full count. And now he knows this is his last hitter. You got to go with the fastball. If he could throw a 3-2 hook right here and throw it for a strike, I think he'd have it. But I don't see him calling it.
Second and third, 2 down. Again, the 3-2 pitch. And the fastball hit pretty well. Deep left field. Brantley back on the track. Can't make the play. 2 score, and Holt delivers a backbreaker. 2 out, 2-run double here in the 6th. And the Red Sox regain command of the game as they make it a 5-2 lead now.
Well, that was the 3rd straight fastball, and he takes it the other way. Brantley had a little room, but it just gets over his head. Just out of the outreached glove of Brantley, and Hagedorn's night is over. He didn't retire anybody.
Scott Atchison's coming on next. And the new pitcher, Scott Atchison, he'll be up to face Dustin Pedroia, who is 0 for 3 on the night. You know, you go back to that at bat with Brock Holt, and you can analyze it and look at it, but the number 9 hitter is the guy he came on to get, Jackie Bradley. I mean, there's a guy you've got to go at. He's the number 9 hitter for a reason. And he walked him on 4 pitches.
Right. Well, he had his chance at 2 left-handers, and he didn't get it done. So they let the Red Sox, after the Indians answered the 2-run 5th, bottom half of the 5th, they come right back and they make it a 3-2 game and get right back into it. And what happens? They give it right back to him. Make it a 3-run game again in the bottom half of the inning.
Weekly bounce to second base, and Jason Kipnis will throw out his counterpart. Inning over, but the Red Sox get 2, and after 6, they lead it 5-2. On the Tigers on FS1. Then it's baseball night in America on Fox as the Milwaukee Brewers, surprise leaders in the NL Central, host the Cincinnati Reds. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday at 4 Eastern on FS1, continuing at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox. Well, John Lester has to feel pretty good. Armed once again with a 3-run lead. And now Yan Gomes, 2 for 2 on the night, leads off the 7th.
He's coming back, and he's still under 90 pitches. This will be the 90th.
Chased one down and in, 1-1. Gomes with a ground ball right at the shortstop. Herrera throws him out, 1 away. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. Line drive, base hit in the left field. Well, Mike Aviles gets his first hit of the night, and a one-out base runner here in the 7th turns it over to the top of the order. That'll get the Boston bullpen stirring.
Well, he's been getting inside with Aviles tonight, but he didn't get that ball in, and that's why Aviles gets the base hit in the left field. That cutter didn't quite cut inside enough, so Mike took advantage of it. That's hit number 7 for the Indians. One out single. They have 6 singles and the double by Brantley last inning.
In the dirt. Ross with a good stop. Just outside. 2 balls, no strikes. Bourne chased one outside corner. The stirring in the Boston bullpen has now led to a reliever starting to get loose as John Lester closes in on 100 pitches for the night. Bourne pops it to center. Pretty well hit though. Bradley going back, still going back. But he makes the catch. And now Aviles has to retouch second base, and he is going to be doubled up. That ends the inning. Stretch time in Boston. Red Sox lead it 5-2. The 7th inning stretch brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Terrific running catch in deep center field, right in front of the monster. And then watch this, all the way back to first. And Mike Aviles gets doubled up. He was around second.
Yeah, you can't go around second base. You're down 3 runs. Even if the ball you think is over his head, you have to make sure you can go to second base and wait to see if he makes a catch. But you can't go around second and get doubled off because you're losing. It's late in the ball game. You can't make a double play in that situation there.
Carlos Carrasco on for the Tribe now, 16th appearance of the year. He's got 3, 4, and 5 coming up for Boston. That's how close, though. The difference sometimes, you talk about the difference between winning and losing, and this game's not over yet, but the difference right now between winning and losing in this game. Michael Brantley came within an inch or two of making a catch on the warning track in deep left field. Didn't get it. Red Sox scored 2. Bradley runs that ball down. If he doesn't get that ball, the Indians have at least second and third, and they're set up potentially for a big inning.
Well, again, it comes down to two teams when you're not scoring a whole lot. It's going to be a low-scoring game, and it's little things.
Well, and then everything gets magnified too, right?
Of course it does. You don't know if you don't out-hit your mistakes, then everything gets blown out of proportion and magnified.
There have been 3 errors in the game. The Indians have committed 2 errors. The Red Sox have committed 1, and all 3 errors have been at least a part of run scoring in this ball game.
Now this is a little thing in his last at bat that made a big difference in this ball game with 2 outs after he just got Pedroia out with a man on third. Callaway went out to the mound to talk to Tomlin and obviously says, look, we don't want to give him much to hit, so just, if you're going to go at him, don't give him much. But he made a mistake with a fastball and he hit it out in center field, and he shouldn't have really been pitching to him.
Right back to Carrasco. 1 away. I'll bring up Mike Napoli, who is 1 for 3 tonight. Napoli really pulled off the breaking ball there. It's 1-1. Now the count 1-2 with 1 out here in the 7th. Line drive single into center field. Got him down on the count, could not put him away. Fox Sports Supports is proud to recognize the Army's Gold Star Pin Campaign, which honors the families of fallen service members. To learn more, visit goldstarpins.org. Daniel Nava, 3 for 3 on the night, will be the batter.
The Red Sox now with 11 hits on the night. They have a homer, triple, and 1 double, or make it 2 doubles.
Well, and coming into tonight, they were 10 for their last 61 with runners in scoring position, which is a .164 average. Tonight, 3 for 9. Oh, what a nice pick by Kipnis. And the Indians turn a double play to get out of the inning. Terrific defensive play by Jason Kipnis. And we'll go to the 8th. Tribe down 3. Descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. (5-2) Boston as we go to the 8th inning. Stay tuned for Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, the Indians live postgame show. Straight ahead here on Sports Time Ohio. For the Indians here in the 8th, it'll be Asdrubal Cabrera, Michael Brantley, and Jason Kipnis. John Lester staying on, activity in the bullpen. Lester still under 100 pitches on the night. Indians have had better swings against him here as the game's gone along. He retired 8 out of the first 9 he faced tonight. Second time through the order, the Indians had 2 hits against him plus a walk. But he didn't strike anybody out after he struck out 4 of the first 9. And then the third time through, they finally got to him, benefiting from his own error.
Yeah, that's what got him started.
But they strung together 3 hits in that 6th inning. Lefty and a righty up for Boston. I don't know if you could say one team is more desperate for a win than the other. I mean, I suppose if you looked at it, you could say Boston 7 under 500, already 9 games out, probably more desperate to get this homestand started off on a good note. But the Indians, You know, they've been a very streaky club, and I know Terry Francona doesn't want to see this spiral into 3, 4, 5 losses in a row now.
No, because they worked so hard in that last homestand to get back to that level. That, I mean, this homestand could be a make or break for them because they fought so hard to get back to it. And on the road, they were 2-11 against left-handers coming into today's game. They could fall to 2-12 if Lester holds on here. But yeah, they worked too hard to get back to that 500 mark to start giving it back.
Cabrera rolls one to short. And Herrera throws him out one away.
Well, John Lester tonight has had a good cutter into the right-handed hitter. I mean, that's a pitch that it is devastating. It's a ball, but a lot of times he'll get you to swing at it, and you're going to come up empty because he sets it up so well. He can go with that fastball away. He can go with that little cutter on the backside, a backdoor cutter. But that pitch really opens up that plate for him to the right-handed hitters. And, you know, when you don't get to face him that often, maybe once a year, it's not an easy pitch to lay off of the first time or the first couple times through.
Brantley smokes one. Oh, what a play!
She made a catch.
She sure did make a catch. Or it caught her, I'm not sure. But
well, look at that. Everybody down there. Look at line drive, too. Yes, she did. Well done. Off her bucket. Gives it away as a souvenir. She should be proud.
Star of the game right there.
What did Jerry Coleman used to say? You can
hang
a star on that one.
Yeah. Michael Brantley takes a strike. Brantley has solved Lester each of his last 2 trips. He looped a single to left, and then he rifled a double into the left field corner.
Yeah, he sliced it. That's why this at bat, he was ready for the pitch inside, and he turned on it. So Michael has a pretty good game plan.
Got in on him and popped him up. Bradley in center field will make the catch. 2 down. Now it's Miller time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Indians needed a big hit. They got one from Jason Kipnis in the 6th inning. A 2-run single, plating a couple of runs and getting the Indians to within 1 at that point. They have since allowed Boston to tack on a couple of big insurance runs, and they've opened up a 5-2 advantage now. Line drive single to right field for Kipnis. His 2nd hit of the night. Keeps the inning alive for Carlos Santana.
Take a look at this in our Wendy slow motion replay. He got a breaking ball. And we haven't seen a lot of breaking balls from Lester tonight. But he left that one up a little bit. And he gives up the base hit. That's Jason's 2nd hit. And John Farrell's going to go out and make a move right now for Lester, who is at 108 pitches.
So he goes to the dugout, and John Farrell calls for a right-hander. We've got a timeout with Boston on top 5-2. Indians batting with 1 on and 2 out here in the 8th inning. Earlier tonight, Grady Sizemore made a nice catch. Overran it, but up against the sidewall. And how about the ball girl?
She had got stuck on that wall down in there near that corner.
Right field wall. That's where the action's at tonight,
yes,
folks.
Indeed. That was cool.
We should have a poll. See whose catch was better. See what the fans think. All right, back to work. Stop mingling with the fans down there. Get your game face on. Let's go, kid.
There may be another one coming back to you.
Carlos Santana 0 for 2 on the night. He walked in the 5th. And he's fouled out, fly to center. Junichi Tazawa. He worked a scoreless 8th inning Tuesday night at Baltimore with a couple of strikeouts. He leads the team in appearances. This is his 31st. A breaking ball for a strike. Andrew Miller, who had been up getting loose earlier, came into the game tied with Tazawa with 30 appearances each. Tazawa started the year with 11 scoreless appearances.
Well, that's certainly the way, as a reliever, you would like to start off. You know, instead of going out there your first couple times, you give up 2 or 3 runs, then you got to battle your way to get that ERA back. Start out with 11 straight shutout innings.
Fouled back out of play. 1-2 to count. Andrew Miller, who I mentioned earlier, began the night tied with Tazawa for the most used arm out of that bullpen. He is back throwing again in the Red Sox pen. The tag down, but Kipnis got it back in time. Miller up, or presumably, if Terry Francona were to pinch hit for the guy on deck, or Nick Swisher, either one. If he were to go to Lonnie Chisenhall, who's been really hot, or even David Murphy. I don't know why Tazawa is so obsessed with Jason Kipnis at first. He's got a 3-run lead here.
I think that's what Ross is going to go out and talk to him about. Hey, look, you've got 2 strikes on the hitter. Let's get the hitter here. Don't worry about the guy at first base. Sometimes pitchers get in their head that they just want to throw over there for whatever reason. It's programmed.
Yeah, they've been having it ingrained in their head. Got to control the running game. Well, yeah, in certain instances. Well, he makes his pitch and strikes out Santana. So we'll go to the bottom of the 8th in Beantown with the Red Sox leading it 5-2. Indians Live coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. (5-2) Boston, bottom of the 8th inning. They're dancing in their seats here tonight. The Red Sox returning home, finding their offense to a degree. They banged out 11 hits. Carlos Carrasco worked a scoreless 7th. Grady Sizemore 1 for 3 on the night. He had an RBI double that got Boston on the board in the 2nd inning. That run scored, but it was an unearned run because Mike Napoli reached on an error to start that inning by Asdrubal Cabrera. Red Sox got their next 2 runs. Another questionable moment in the game. Perhaps you could call it a mental error as Grady grounds one towards second base. Red Sox had a runner at third base with 2 outs, and David Ortiz coming up to the plate. Ricky Callaway went to the mound, presumably to tell Josh Tomlin, if you're going to pitch to him, don't give him anything to hit. He made a mistake over the plate, and Ortiz hit a 2-run homer out. That made it 3-0. And the Indians got back in it with 2 runs in the 6th, but right back in the bottom of the 6th, Terry Francona went to his bullpen trying to match up, and Nick Hagedorn served up a 2-run double to Brock Holt on a left-on-left matchup. That's where we stand here tonight. You know, tonight's game really not unlike the 3 games the Indians played against Boston back in Cleveland. You know, those 3 games were all close games. They were low scoring
3-2,
games.
5-3, and
Yeah.
what was it, 7-4?
The last game the Indians
something like that.
Beat them 7-4. That was the 12-inning game though.
Right. That was Cabrera's walk-off.
So it was a low scoring game until that big home run. But you know, the lower the score, the fewer mistakes you can afford to make.
Well, and when you're playing teams that are struggling offensively, you can't help them out and give them any gifts. Make them earn everything they get to hit their way out of any slumps that they're in.
Ross goes down hacking, 2 away. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. And for Boston here tonight, we'll take a look at what they've done. I kind of went over the scenario for you. Holt and Ortiz with the big blows here tonight. Herrera's triple came with 2 outs in the 6th inning, and that was the last batter that Josh Tomlin got to face. And it was on an 0-2 pitch. Just by Carrasco.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get him.
It's close. And he's safe at first.
Boy, a bang play just out of the reach of Carrasco. I knew it was going to be tough with Kipnis going to his right. And this kid can get down the line pretty well. And I mean, it was bang. And I think we may see Tito come out. They're going to get another look at it. Let's see. Out. Oh boy, I don't know.
No?
That's awful close any way you look at it. Either way, I think you can get called either way, safe or out. Boom, and his foot is right. If it is, it's by a hair. Look at this. Doesn't get much closer than that when you look at it. It's wow.
Splitting hairs.
It is. Would there be enough to overturn it?
Obviously, the Indians don't feel there is, so they'll concede the 2-out single. With the lead, Herrera might try to steal with 2 outs in this situation.
Well, it would be a good time if you want. I mean, it's a 3-run game.
And you got your number 9 hitter up there.
But as I mentioned before, they're 14th in the league in stolen bases. They have 22. They do have one tonight, but they don't steal a lot.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 down, a runner at first here in the bottom of the 8th. Tigers have gone in front of Chicago 1-0. They're in the 7th inning. Max Scherzer pitching for the Tigers. Detroit trying to stop a 3-game losing streak. Runner goes, strikes him out. Inning over. We'll go to the 9th at Fenway. Red Sox lead it 5-2. $6,000 for prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can go online to homerunchallenge.org. Here in the 9th inning, it's Koji Uehara to try and close it out for the Red Sox. O'Hara, a perfect 13 out of 13 on the year.
It's amazing, this guy with 2 pitches, the fastball and the changeup. Opposition hit at just 179. He had an unbelievable year last year for him, and he's right back at it again. Looking for save number 14, and has a 3-run lead to work with. Trying to save it for John Lester, who's looking for win number 7.
Ryan Rayburn to lead it off. He's 1 for 3 on the night. And a pitch is outside for ball 1. Rayburn, Nick Swisher, Yan Gomes for the Tribe here in the ninth. They trail it by 3. O'Hara finds the strike zone. Red Sox a perfect 22-0 when they lead after 8 innings this year. And trailing after 8, the Indians have 2 wins and 30 losses. But one of their wins came on the road.
Not how you're going to make a living down after 8, that's for sure.
Rayburn fouls it right back. Well, especially down 3.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And you're facing one of the best closers around.
Yeah,
he got the fastball right there and fouled it back, so I think he'll come back with his changeup again.
O'Hara unblemished so far this year in the closer's role. Chop to third. Holt, long throw on the money. Perfect strike. Boy, that guy, they can play him almost anywhere. Recapping our keys to the game, brought to you by Akron Children's Hospital. Not many opportunities because the Indians didn't muster much against John Lester, especially early in the game. 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. And Josh Tomlin, the one big mistake that we've already talked about with base opening, pitched to David Ortiz with 2 outs, and Ortiz hit a 2-run homer off him. Nick Swisher foul tips it. Swisher 0 for 3 in his return to the lineup. Activated from the DL earlier this afternoon. O'Hara and Swisher down on the count 0-2. Strikes him out, 2 away.
Well, his changeup he throws as a splitter. As you can see him reaching into the glove, and he throws it the same as his fastball. You see the downward movement.
Almost look more like a forkball for him.
That's really a split that you would call it. A lot of guys will use that split grip, but he really spreads out a lot, and it's that much difference. I mean, the more you spread them out, the more velocity you take off the pitch. And he has a dandy. He only throws 88 miles an hour. But he throws you enough fastballs, and he has such good control that when fastball, boom, the next thing you know, it sneaks one by you, and then he goes to that split.
Rope foul, look out below.
But for a pitcher to just have those 2 pitches, you know, they guess right, so it has to be that good.
Foul back, Gomes. Down to the count now, a ball and 2 strikes. Boston 5 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. The Indians 2 runs, 8 hits, 2 errors. As the Red Sox close in on another win against the Tribe here at Fenway. Indians swept the Red Sox back in Cleveland. But this has always been a tough place to play.
Well, in the last, since 08, we told you they had their hands full coming into Boston trying to beat the Red Sox. But there's 3 more to go. They've got to come back and salvage it.
Ground ball to short. Herrera has it. Double clutches, but throws it up. And the Indians go 1-2-3. Boston beats the Tribe here at Fenway for the 7th time in their last 8 meetings. And team streak, which is the Cleveland Indians this year, is starting to go the wrong way again. They've now lost 3 in a row, and they fall back below the 500 mark at 33 and 34. Boston wins at home to go to 30 and 36. The winner, John